When I was 19, I spent 7 months in a mental hospital. These are my medical records, and every day I want to go through a page, read a little bit that's on the paper, and then talk about it. Before I begin today's video, I want to say a couple of things about my mental health journey. First of all, this is the darkest part of my mental health journey, but it's just one small part. Over the course of years, I've done everything from EMDR to group therapy to talk therapy. You name it, I've done it, except for stuff like ayahuasca, ketamine, because that's not recommended for people like me. But I have a very healthy life. I journal every day, I walk every day, I have a dog, cook my own meals, I have a lot of family, I have a lot of support. I see a psychiatrist, I'm on a therapeutic dose of medication. So I have all of these things in place. So that is why I feel capable of doing this. Also, this was 21 years ago, and it has been weighing me down for years, and I'm ready to just unload it. And I just think doing it on camera kind of motivates me to do it, but also I want to educate whoever watches this video about mental health journeys and how some of them are really, really messy, especially if you have no insurance, you're in a state hospital that is overcrowded with staff that do not have the training, the patience, or even the knowledge to deal with specific cases that require more attention. Okay, and so without further ado, I'm gonna grab a page. I think today I'm gonna do from the bottom. I've been doing from the middle. Also, after I grab the page, I'm gonna put it behind here, which my friend got me. It says no bad days. And the reason I'm doing that is because it is my medical records and they're sensitive information and I can't put that on camera. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna try to go from the bottom. Try not to look. Well, I mean, I wouldn't be able to see it anyways because you'd have to like really, it's like tightly packed in here. Okay, I got something. Okay, the date of this is 1/12/205. So this is a paper about when I first got to the hospital, and it's just basically my like blood, protein, glucose, stuff like that. And it says stuff about clinical guideline, but I don't know what that means. Like NCEP clinical practice guidelines. Desirable, borderline high. So yeah, I don't really understand that. So I will, because the pages are tightly packed, I will go to the next one and see if there's something else. Okay, this one has writing. Says my name, my age, 19, female, referral source, Chicago. Reason for referral. So it can't, I don't know if I can say this word on TikTok, but it's you get the rest. Found parents unit. I can't read the writing. And then it says below it, trauma history. And there's something scratched and then there's a question mark. So this is like right when I got to the hospital and it says child abuse. And so let's talk about it. At the time of my hospitalization, my parents were in active addiction. My mother was an intravenous drug user who later got my father to, well, not got my father joined her in the drug world, abuse thing, whatever. And so at the time of my hospitalization, I was unhoused. I was living with an aunt, and this aunt had a lot of people living with her, but she was one of the most beautiful, kind women I ever knew. And she took care of me as best as she could because my parents were unable to. And so one thing I will say about my parents is they're the ones who took me to the hospital. I had gone about, I want to say like a month with no sleep. They had actually, they were previously unhoused. And then at the time of the hospitalization, my sister had paid for an apartment for them, and they had just moved in. And they were seeing me. So during psychosis, okay, so like explain a little bit about psychosis, or my psychosis, right? So think about it like this. You get an idea, right? Like you say that over there, that cup of water is full of poison. And you get this idea, right? And if you're rational, you're like, that's a cup of water, it's not full of poison. But when you're psychotic and you're in psychosis and you get that idea that that cup of water is poison, you believe it with everything inside of your soul. So you can function normally until these belief systems start affecting how you're talking to people. So for instance, my mother was a drug user, and so I wouldn't let her go to the bathroom because I thought one of my delusions was I was supposed to cleanse her of this addiction by not leaving her alone. And for a drug user, that was hard for my mother, and it was hard for my father. And they were kind of getting tired of me just following her around. And also another part of some psychosis, I don't know about everybody's psychosis, but mine was, there was a lot of religious undertones. So I believed I could like pray her addiction away. And so I was following her around all day, and I was just praying over her and crying, and I can, you know, and it became a lot. And so my parents had suggested, like, we're gonna take you to the hospital. And I, you know, was like, take me to the hospital and they can see how powerful I am. And when we got to the hospital, they asked me questions. I answered them honestly. I was not conscious enough to know what was happening to me, right? I thought they were taking me there because the hospital wanted to know how amazing I was with my healing powers, and the hospital was gonna use my healing powers. And I don't think my parents understood what was gonna happen as well. I don't think they knew that when they took me that day that I would be taken away and put in this really horrible state hospital. So my dad had to sign a piece of paper because even though I was 19, I guess he was still my guardian, and he had to sign permission for me to be hospitalized. Now, as soon as the hospitalization like kicked in, as soon as I realized like I was gonna go to a hospital tonight, a part of like my reality came back, and I remembered like I was supposed to cook pork chops and rice that night, and I really wanted to cook pork chops and rice, and I was like, no, I can't do that if I'm at the hospital healing people, because you know, that's the thing is like psychosis is it's a blend with reality, right? Like there's parts of you that understand like food and drink and water and everything isn't isn't tied to the psychosis and the delusions, but a lot is. But anyways, so as soon as I found out that I wasn't, you know, gonna go home, I booked it down the hospital to run, and I just remember getting body slammed by the staff, and then that was the first time I was restrained. But they didn't tie me up. They just like held me down, or maybe they did. I just remember one of the nurses was pretty, and she said, "Where are your powers now?" I just remember that. And in my brain, I was like, well, I haven't been called to use them, or I don't want to use them. I'm scared of how they may hurt you. So that was like me, like, you know, I didn't even know she had like really tried to like make fun of me. But anyways, all right, so that's the video for today. I'm gonna try to comment and interact as much as possible, but you know, I got a Bears game to watch, so have a good day. Thank you for watching.